Do you know what this painting is called and who painted it? The painting is called Oedipus and the Sphinx and is an 1864 oil-on canvas painting by Gustave Moreau that was first exhibited at the French Salon of 1864, where it was an immediate success. It is now in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The work was a fresh treatment of the established subject of the meeting between Oedipus and the Sphinx on the road outside Thebes, as described in Sophocles' play Oedipus Rex. According to the Met, the legendary Greek prince Oedipus confronts the malevolent Sphinx, who torments travelers with a riddle: what creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Remains of victims who answered incorrectly litter the foreground. The solution is the human, who crawls as a baby, strides upright in maturity, and uses a cane in old age. Moreau made his mark with this painting at the Paris Salon of 1864. Despite the growing prominence of depictions of everyday life, he portrayed stories from the Bible, mythology, and his imagination. His otherworldly imagery inspired many younger artists and writers, including Odilon, Redon, and Oscar Wilde. Subject matter: the painting depicts Oedipus meeting the Sphinx at the crossroads on his journey between Thebes and Delphi. Oedipus must answer the Sphinx's riddle correctly in order to pass. Failure means his own death and that of the besieged Thebans. The riddle was, what walks on 4 feet in the morning, 2 in the afternoon and 3 at night? Oedipus answered, man. As an infant, he crawls on all 4s, as an adult, he walks on 2 legs and, in old age, he uses a walking stick. Oedipus was the first to answer the riddle correctly and, having heard Oedipus answer, the Sphinx was astounded and inexplicably killed herself by throwing herself into the sea. Oedipus thereby won the freedom of the Thebans, the kingdom of that city, and as his wife, Jocasta, who was later revealed to be his mother. Style and antecedents. In this work, Moreau deliberately rejects the realism and naturalism in vogue in mid-19th century France, instead adopting a deliberately archaic painting style and mythological subject matter. Moreau had sketched Ingres 1808 Oedipus and the Sphinx in Paris, and that is a likely source for his version of the story. Ingres also painted a later version, circa 1826, which is now in the National Gallery, London, but it is uncertain whether Moreau saw that work. The influence of Italian Renaissance master Andrea Mantegna has also been detected in Moreau's version. Unlike Ingres' version, where Oedipus appears as the dominant figure with the Sphinx on the defensive and partly obscured, in Moreau's version the Sphinx is on the offensive, clawing at Oedipus, whose victory in the encounter does not yet seem assured. Indeed, other works by Moreau often feature victorious sphinxes atop a mound of victims. The Sphinx in the painting may be seen as a form of femme fatale, a common theme in late 19th century arts and particularly of symbolist painting. Ragnar von Holten has argued that the subject depicts not only the battle between good and evil, but also between the sexes, and that the opening poem of Buch der Lieder by Heinrich Heine was the source for the idea of the painting. In that poem, the Sphinx triumphs over Oedipus. In a Freudian interpretation, it has been argued that the Sphinx represents the castrating effect of Moreau's mother that he has been seeking to escape. At the time the painting was created, Moreau's father had recently died. By contrast, Henri Dora has suggested that the poses of the Sphinx and Oedipus are derived from the Greek etymological meaning of the word sphinx, which is to clutch, embrace, or cling to. Dora notes that a paper on the subject by Michel Biril had been published in 1863, the year before the work was painted. Dora also draws attention to the symbolic meaning of some of the elements in the picture, which could have autobiographical aspects, and the possible derivation of the treatment of the subject from the design of a Bithynian coin of Nicomedes II depicting Zeus leaning on a staff with an eagle on his right. The intense gaze shared between the two has been seen as characteristic of Moreau, who again and again suggests an ambiguous mirror image, 2 aspects, 2 abstract entities that confront each other and recognize each other all too well. Reception. The painting was an immediate success at the Salon. Dassault wrote in the Temps of Moreau's devotion to the old masters, and the knowledge and application of sound principles and traditions. The painter of Oedipus, obscure and unknown yesterday, and who will be famous tomorrow. It rescued what was otherwise seen as a mediocre show. One critic commented, Mr. Gustave Moreau is the hero of this exhibition, and the grumblers proclaim that if the Salon of 1864 is retrieved from discredit, it is thanks to Oedipus and the Sphinx. The only serious criticism leveled at the work was that its figures might have been too inspired by the work of Mantegna. Critic Paul de Saint-Victor warned that Moreau should extricate himself from the harsh embrace of Mantegna in order to realize his full potential. Jules Claretie commented that it was drawn like a Mantegna but as poetic as a Leonardo da Vinci. Maxime Duchamp, on the other hand, felt that it more resembled Vittore Carpaccio's Street George and the Dragon, 1502, which Moreau had copied in Venice and which also contains the gory remains of conflict. Another critic observed that a Greek sphinx, half woman and half vulture, was shown, rather than an Egyptian seated sphinx, but felt that whereas Ingres had presented a modern Oedipus, Moreau had better interpreted the classical Oedipus. After the Salon, Moreau quickly gained a reputation for eccentricity. One commentator said Moreau's work was like a pastiche of Mantegna created by a German student who relaxes from his painting by reading Schopenhauer. History. The painting was first sold by the artist in 1864 to Prince Napoleon Bonaparte, who had a reputation as a discerning connoisseur, and paid a full 8,000 francs for the work. It was then sold in 1868 to Paul Durand Ruel, and then in the same year to William H. Herriman of Rome, who gave it to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 1920, where it is one of the few important Moreau paintings outside France. On his death, Moreau left all of his extant paintings to the French nation, where they formed the basis for the subsequent Gustave Moreau Museum. Artwork details. Title: Oedipus and the Sphinx. Artist: Gustave Moreau, French, Paris 1826 to 1898. Paris date: 1864. Medium: oil on canvas. Dimensions: 81 1/4 times 41 1/4 inches, 206.4 times 104.8 centimeters. Classification: paintings. Credit line: bequest of William H. Herriman, 1920. Accession number: 21.134.1.